Your first house in Valheim probably looked something like this. Since it's a Viking game, you likely wanted to stick with that authentic Viking aesthetic. But here's the problem with building longhouses. It's tough to make them look good and interesting, which might explain why I rarely see them in the Valheim community. That's my theory anyway. Lately though, I've developed some killer techniques that can transform your basic longhouse from this to this. With the tips I'm about to share, you'll easily turn any boring longhouse into a stunning work of art. Here's a longhouse that every single one of us have built at some point in our Valheim adventure. It's boxy, basic, pretty ugly. There's no detail to it, but it got the job done. But if you eventually want to turn that longhouse into something a little nicer looking, so that your base is a place that you actually want to come back to, then I'll show you step by step how you can transform this very simple longhouse into something a lot nicer looking, such as this one. So the first thing that we want to do here is we want to redo the roof because we want it to come out 2 meters. That'll allow us to have, a much nicer looking entranceway. But as it currently sits, if we just try and bring the roof out 2 meters, our 45-degree wall is going to clip through the roof, and we don't want that. Personally, I can't stand it when these these beams clip through the roof. I just think it looks bad, and there's a very, very easy solution to get rid of that clipping. So what we're going to do is come out 1 meter off the side here, and then because we want a 2 meter overhang, we're just going to place 2 walls coming out. And to pop the roof up slightly to not clip through the wall, we're going to use just a log beam to go on top of there. So now our roof is not going to clip through our wall, which is what we're trying to do. So now that we have our new snap point, we can tear down the entire roof, and because it's going to be half a meter higher, we are going to have to put a log beam on top of our wall. Now, already our roof is looking way better. It has a nice overhang on the front and the back. And now we're going to focus on our entranceway. So it looks pretty boring right now if it's just a flat wall. There's nothing interesting there. And so we're actually going to bring the top half of the wall out 1 meter. So that's simple enough to do. Just remove the old tiles and use the wood floor to bring it out that 1 meter. So after we're done, we're left with that. A nice little detail is just using the wood shutters just so it doesn't look like a flat wall without any detail. The wood shutters just give it a little bit more detail, just makes it a little more interesting to look at. So now that we've popped out the top half of the wall by 1 meter, it looks really nice if you just put the log poles on either corner like that, and then frame it in with your regular wood beams. And then if you want to go even further, you can put the 45-degree piece here and here. And even just that tiny little detail did so much to make this entryway look really nice. And something I like to do, it's a slightly more advanced trick, is you use the wooden door on either side of the entrance, and then you spin it 90 degrees and place them there and there. And then your log pole can have a snap point that's off to the side a little bit, And now our log poles are kind of recessed into the wall just by a half meter. And I think it looks really nice, and you know, they're not too close to the door, and that's another cool little detail that adds a lot of depth, and I really like doing that. So for the top, we're just gonna finish framing the top here just with our 45-degree wood beams. There, now our entranceway is looking really good. And if you like what I did here with the two dragon heads, there's a bit of a trick you need to do to make it look like that, because currently, if you try and snap one here and one over here, it's not going to give you that snap point. You know, for whatever reason, you can't put these directly next to each other. So the way around that is just to put your wood door here and another one right there. And what that does is it lets us attach the wood dragon over here, and then another one we can snap to the other door. So now our wood dragons look like that, and the snap point is exactly, I think, 0.25 meters over from the roof ridge. So I think that looks pretty cool. I like having the dragons on the front there. Just kind of softens that X on the top. So at this point, our entranceway is pretty much complete. If you really want to add some extra detail, you can always use a wood door just to pop out our wood poles a little bit. It's a detail I like to do. Just makes it look a little more interesting. So with our front entrance pretty much complete at this point, we can move to the back, and I'll show you how I made this cool looking window here. So to do that, we're gonna fill in our wall. I'm gonna bring this back end, or this back wall, out slightly, just like we did on the entrance. So we're just gonna use the 1 meter floor tiles as we did before. So on the back of our longhouse, now we're left with a 2x2 opening in the back, and this is what we're gonna need to do our custom window. So use the wood door and snap until it, or cycle through the snapping points until until you get to the center. So center one will work for us, and you're going to place that right in the center between our two floor pieces, and then the next snap point is over by, you know, 1/4 of a meter, and we're just going to continue all the way to the end, and we'll do the same going the other way. Once we have all of our wood doors, they're going to supply us some unique snap points. So I like to rotate our wood beam or wood pole like that, and then you can just find the right snap point for the doors and place them just like that. And now we can go inside of our house and delete these wood doors. And what we're left with is a really cool looking window that'll let a bit of light into our house. There, so I think the back of our house looks pretty good just like that. We can just finish off the trim by placing our wood beams like so. And for here, if this little notch at where the beams intersect bothers you, a really easy way to make it look a little nicer is just by placing a log up top like that, and then snapping a 1 meter wood pole just like that. And that just helps soften that notch a little bit. And I think that is a really cool look for the peak of your roof. So that there looks really good. The front is looking really good. And at this point, all you need to do is put your flooring down and just put on some more fine details. And then if you like the central hearth that I have in this other house here, there's an easy way to center it on your middle floor tiles, and it's just by using the wood door trick again. So we're inside the house, everything's looking great, and we want to put a hearth. And if we want to keep the Viking theme going, the hearth is going to go in the center of the house. But it's not quite centered right there, and if we use the next snap point, it's still not centered. So the way that we can center that perfectly is just by placing a wood door right there on that one floor tile. And now we can snap our hearth. We have a couple options, but we'll use the last one here. And now our hearth is perfectly centered in the middle of our longhouse. So that's a nice little trick to know when you're trying to center a hearth, because they are sort of odd shapes on the floor. So those are the steps that I take to transform an otherwise boring longhouse into a really nice looking longhouse. And that's all there is to it. So I hope you found this video useful and helpful, and with the tricks I showed you here, you can now transform any boring longhouse into a nice looking longhouse, just like this one. Let me know what tricks you use to transform your own builds, and I'll see you in the next video.